Hello again. A week or two ago, I talked about some of the things which I noticed about black school children and college students which prevented them from getting on. This had nothing to do with intelligence, but was rather a question of attitude. Whether one wishes to be a doctor or plumber, there are certain routine and often unwelcome processes which need to be undertaken. And I've noticed many black kids are reluctant to follow the same path as everybody else and hope to find a shortcut to success, either as sportsmen, pop singers, or other glamorous careers. It is this which seems to be the result in a lack of black plumbers and doctors. Uh, Rather than any lack of intelligence, it's more a question of attitude and behaviour. I want to look today at an instance of this in a bright young boy who probably could have become a doctor but almost certainly will not because of a feeling on both his part and that of his father that there is an easier and more exciting route than the usual one of taking good GCSEs and studying hard for A levels and so on. Something which many white people do not perhaps realise is a lot of minorities, both in Britain and America, essentially inhabit a separate world for much of the time, one which is parallel to the real world but often very different. It's the sort of world where one discusses flat earth or learns that it was the Jews that caused 9/11 rather than Muslim terrorists, that sort of thing. The internet has fueled this tendency, although it cannot be held wholly responsible. I noticed it years and years ago when newspapers like The Voice first started. They were fairly sensible alternative sources of alternative perspectives, and gradually they became a little bit weird. Somebody commenting here the other day gave a wonderful example of how this happens, how people come to have a strange and distorted perspective on the world, and how some groups have become completely disconnected from the actual objective and veridical world. This person drew my attention to a boy called Joshua Beckford. In the real world, the youngest person ever to attend the University of Oxford was a girl called Ruth Lawrence, who started there when she was 12 and graduated with a first class degree in mathematics a little over 2 years later. This is a fact, yeah. If, however, you Google youngest person ever to attend Oxford University and then look at the images, you'll find a little black boy all over the results. This is Joshua Beckford, and he is widely believed by black people across the world to have attended the University of Oxford at the age of 6. This is such a completely mad idea that I find it almost incredible that a single person could believe it. But there we are. It's now firmly fixed in the minds of many gullible and childlike people that that is really the case. Let me explain how this happened. The name Oxford is for many people synonymous with erudition and learning. For this reason, a lot of companies selling tutoring, online teaching, and so on tried to work Oxford into the name of their company. Oxford University are trying to trademark the word Oxford now to prevent this. They've taken legal action against people in the past because when people add Oxford to the name of an educational project or business, it's usually done to try and hint that there's some connection with Oxford University. In 2009, a woman called Coral Milburn-Curtis, who has a doctorate from Oxford University, set up a limited company called the Oxford Learning Partnership. A few months later, she had to change the name of the thing to Online Learning Partnerships. I think Oxford University might have got a bit ticked off at somebody starting something like that that hinted that it was connected with the university. The same woman has now got another company called Ox Mathematics, offering online tutoring in mathematics. And when you go onto the website there, it shows the skyline of Oxford University. Anyway, I include links to these enterprises in the description to the video, along with links relating to Joshua Beckford and his life. Coral Milburn-Curtis ran a course in 2011 for gifted children. I rather think she got funding from a charity for this, though I might be wrong. It was an online thing. There were many such projects running, especially for home educated children, there always have been. One of those signed up for this course was a boy from Tottenham in London. He was of Nigerian origin, he's 6 years old, and is called Joshua Beckford. At the end of the course, which was really just a bit of fun, those children who took part were given impressive certificates. It's a sort of thing, it's just, a little thing that people do. Home educated people are very keen on this sort of thing. After the course, though, that's when the fun really began, because Joshua's father got it into his head that his son had actually been admitted to Oxford University. He began publicising the idea, and it was eagerly picked up by black websites and publications. All of them were delighted at the idea that a 6-year-old black child had been admitted to Oxford University, that he had become the youngest person ever to study at Oxford, this was an online thing anyway. Joshua Beckford never went within 100 miles of Oxford. So far, there was no harm in any of this, really, except the child then began to be taken to various places and treated like a performing animal. Started in Britain, then he was taken to European countries, then Africa, and he was promoted as a celebrity. His father went with him, and I suppose that they both enjoyed it. For a while he was taken out of school to do this, and his education suffered as a consequence. He has the ambition, allegedly, alleged chiefly by his father, of course, to be a surgeon, and his father has written a book about him, which has been published as a Kindle book on Amazon. It's a truly shocking piece of work. I don't know what I can say about it. He's apparently the father and son wrote it together. It's barely legible, but anyway, his father boasts about, because the child wants to be a surgeon. Father boasts about all the operations that he's carried out virtually. What's happened is they've got hold of a PC game called Surgery Simulator, and his father lists all the various operations that he's carried out on this game. On the strength of all this, both the father and son think he's likely to become a neurosurgeon. Meanwhile, the crazy idea that the child has graduated from Oxford University is becoming ever more widespread. A number of black people are claiming that the mainstream media are ignoring this achievement because the child concerned is black. You'll see comments, why isn't this more widely known? Or this is a triumph, this overturns all the stereotypes about Africa, when it doesn't really, it reinforces them. The route to becoming a surgeon entails first getting a place at medical school. To do this, a teenager has to have pretty well a perfect set of GCSEs, and then followed by A-levels at the highest grades. And this is the only way to get to medical school, and the only way really to become a doctor. Joshua Beckford and his father have somehow got it into their heads there is another route, and that if the child becomes famous enough and appears in lots of African newspapers and is featured on various websites all over the place, then this, combined with playing a Microsoft PC game, might somehow allow him to become a neurosurgeon by sidestepping the usual process. This is just another version of the black students at further education colleges, really, who drop out of courses to pursue their dreams of stardom. I'm telling these stories because they form part of the pattern of underachievement of young black people. They're held back not by white racism or lack of intelligence, but by people giving them the idea that they don't have to tread the same dull path as everybody else in order to get a worthwhile career. This is a tragedy, and the black newspapers and websites which promote the boy who was admitted to Oxford University at the age of 6, as they say, are adding to the problem and encouraging other young people to think that there are unconventional ways to success. I might mention this isn't actually limited to black people. Home educators are very much in this mould as well, and this course that Joshua Beckford was on was very popular with home educators. Some home educators get the idea that their children don't have to sit GCSEs like everybody else, and they can get into top universities without studying. It's not true, of course. It's not quite so serious though with the average home educator, because these are just a bunch of white people who ruin their children's life chances. It's unfortunate. With black people, the resulting failure from all this fuels resentment and a feeling that society has robbed them of their success, which we're already seeing in a lot of cases. It results sometimes in animosity to white society. It creates divisions between minority groups and society as a whole. So I think it's something really to be avoided if humanly possible.